In this video, we're going to focus on how to create an annotation line here on chart.js. And what's very important here is basically you can see here the line here at the bottom is a solid line, the upper line is a dashed line. And this is a quite challenging part, but quite fun to do as well, once you understand how. And this is based or triggered the moment we hover over the chart on a specific data point, and it will always match itself. Many people like to make an annotation line in chart.js and usually struggle how to create these triggering effects. So let's start and explore exactly how to do this. In this video, we're going to focus on how to add a custom annotation line on hover in chart.js. And if you are interested in creating these kind of effects, this is probably one of the best videos to watch. So what we're going to do here is we want to hover on the item, and then we will show a tooltip, but also a annotation line. And what is an annotation line? Basically, it's a line, and it can be anything at all. You can create all kind of options with this. So let's start and explore how we can create a line or something add-on on the chart the moment we hover over a certain data point. First of all, what we need is to go to chartjs3.com, and in here, in the getting started part, here we have a default code. Just copy this code here, and once you copy this, and if you want to understand what this is, watch this video here. We'll explain it all. And then we're just going to paste this all in here. And once we paste this in here, we're going to cut this out. We're going to move this in here and save this. Once we did that, refresh, we have a nice line for bar chart. But what I want to do is I want to create a line chart. So we're going to do some tiny adjustments here. We have this border width. We can remove this, and then we can replace it with tension. And we can say tension 0.4 to create an elastic effect. Next, what I'm going to remove is just these color options here. I only want a single color here. Same here as well. And next, we have this. That's fine. Everything else is fine here except for the bar. This should be the line chart. All right. If I save this right now and refresh, oh, let's double check here. What did we miss out? All right, the commas. Save that again. Refresh. There we are. So we have this here, and we can do some more adjustments on this to make it a bit more appealing. And we can do that later on as well. So what we're going to do now is we're going to focus on this tooltip part. To do this, what I want to do is basically, as I hover over this part, I want to see the line from top to bottom. And I don't want only a specific line. I want to make sure that this top here to this point here is a solid line, and a dashed line, and everything below is a solid line. So that is basically what we're going to draw here is two lines in one. To do this, I'm going to use a plugin. So in here, in the options here, all I have to do here is put a comma. And then we're going to say here plugin. So the plugin name will be very straightforward. So in this case, I'll just say plugins. And here I'll just say tooltip line. Make sure you remember the name here, because this will eventually be essential in here as well. So next, what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a new constant, and this constant can be put just above here. We can put that in here. That's all right. And you can do it also here below. It doesn't matter so much. I think it makes more sense. Just put it below the data. And in here, we say the following. We'll give this the name the tooltip line block. And in here, we give a constant with the tooltip line, so it will be identical. Curly braces in here, and then we say here ID tooltip line. And this should be identical because this refers directly to this here. So we have this ID here, tooltip line, and basically in here, we're going to start working with the following. What we're going to do here, we want to put in here a option, or basically this will be a callback here, where we want to draw something. We will draw something based on this function here. We say a chart, then we use the arrow function on this, and the curly braces. So in here, we're going to use, this is basically a function, nameless function with the chart option here. This will be very important because with this, we can start to extract argument. This is basically an argument. So we're going to extract the argument or any values in the chart, because we're referring basically in the chart here. So let me show you exactly what I'm talking about. So we say here constant ctx equals, and we say here the chart.ctx. And then here, make sure this is semicolon, And then in here, we could already start working on this. So if I say here, console.log, and I want to just display certain values, let's say the chart, save that, refresh, open up the developer tab, and you can see here now we get all these values here. And these are a lot of values. So you don't have to worry much about this because we are going to work with all of those in here, or at least the ones that are essential. All of this here, because of the refresh, and basically what happens here is it starts to load. And also if you hover over, this is most important, the moment we hover over, it will start to do something as well. And you can see here, the moment we hover over again, it keeps on showing here. And all of these data points here are going to be very important here. So let's start and work with it. So to understand, if you want to draw the line, we have two parts of the line. So we have to draw the line here. So what we're going to do is the first thing here. First of all, we need to make sure that in this, the CTX basically here reaches the canvas, will save the data we're going to use here, all these arguments. So we'll remember this. Secondly, we need to also make sure an if statement, because the if statement will state the moment we hover over it, we want to trigger the drawing of the line. And this is very important and quite complicated because the chart.js documentation doesn't cover this in depth. So we say here the following. We say here chart.tooltip._active. So if it is active and chart.tooltip.length, tooltip._active.length, meaning if it is active and there's any length. And the reason why we have this is if there would be no, it would be active but the tooltip has been hidden, so it will not shown, then of course there's no length. So it will understand these kind of situations. So only the moment it's active and there's a length, so it will cross-check these values. At that very moment, we want to do something here. So we're going to remove this because right now, if you refresh, it just always shows up, and if you hover over it, it will show up as well. As you can see here, now we have many options. But we want to now, or what we want to do now is to make sure it will only trigger the moment we hover over the chart or over the data point. So we save this here, refresh. Now nothing happens, but if you hover over it, as you can see, now we trigger it. And this triggering is essential, because with this trigger we can start to show or hide the item. The moment we trigger it, it will show, and the moment we mouse over or mouse out over the data point, we move away from the data point, at that moment it will hide again, because that's what we want to do. Exactly similar to the tooltip here. So what we're going to do here now is basically this part is done. So what we're going to do now is we say here, first of all, we say here ctx.save to save all the data points that we have in here, and also this part here. And then we're going to do the following. Oh, sorry, before we have to do that, because I have here a list as well, I will say a constant, and this constant is the ctx equals chart.ctx. Oh, do we have that already? Yes, we do, sorry. So we can remove this, cut this out, move it in here, making sure that this is only being shown the moment we are in this part, basically, the moment we hover over something. Once we have this, now we can start to grab the active points, so we can check them. So we say here, a constant, this is a active point, that's the constant name, but basically this one is here, the chart.tooltip._active 0. So once we have this, you can see here as well, let's do a console log, save this and refresh, and then we can see we're now grabbing a lot of elements, but we get only the data point that is active. So the moment we active, so basically this one here, what is active here? 0. This is correct because this is index 0. There's only one tooltip here. There might be more tooltips, but that's alright. We only have one tooltip here because there's only one line. So we have this here, it shows you all the information. Let's look at this. We look here, we have the elements, we have all of these data points here, we have the parsed item, we have here the X and the Y data point, which will be very important as well. Let's see here, what do we have more? The elements was the most important one here. that is not even in the parse if I'm not mistaken. If I remove this here, as you can see the elements, and within the elements we have the X and Y. So if I move here to another one, we get another in the elements, other X and Y values. These are exactly the pixels in here, and that is what we need. So from this on, and the reason I'm using this is just to reduce the amount, but we could do here, if we do only X, you will see we only get the X value here. Oh, sorry, of course it's undefined because we need to put in here dot element. Save that. You can see here, that is the X value right now. Every time you have a different X value, which is correct because this here has a width of 700 pixels, as you can see. So the closest one here, or the last item, is 600 plus 677, which is correct because let's look at the position of this 700, meaning that this space here between is about 30 pixels. Alright, so here we get basically all the values here. So this will be very important. Next point, what we want to get, and I'm going to remove all of this here, is of course the chart area. So because the chart area is basically the lines within here. These are the 4 boxes where the lines start, and the end here is eventually that 677 pixels. So we're going to play around with that as well. Alright. Once you know this, and I'm just going to grab this right now so we can just see the difference. To grab that, we can do exactly the same here. We're going back here in this chart. And then here, not in the tooltip, but we say dot chart area. And if I would save this now, you will see here, if I hover over something, probably you will see it all in the console log. If I hover over, we will get here everything of the chart area. We can see here the exact bottom, the left, the height, left, right. As you can see, 677, which is correct, exactly matching with the X point here. And then the left side, which is the space between the canvas and this part, is 27 pixels plus a little bit more, just something a little bit. And then you can see here as well, the top, it starts at 32 pixels, meaning at this point here, up and down here, is 32 pixels. This is the 32 pixels in the starting point. Alright, all this data is essential. So that's why I'm spending some time on this. And now what we're going to do is we're going to create, and let's draw a line first. So we say here the begin path. Begin path, make sure you pay attention here. CTX essential for drawing in the canvas. This is why we have here this part as well. Chart, CTX, pinpointing specifically this. Alright, so in here we're going to draw a first line. And this line will be, again, CTX set line. What we want to do here is create a dotted line here. So we say dash, or dash line is probably the right term. Dash, and this is all canvas commands. So there's nothing new I'm inventing here. There's nothing from chart.js. It's all canvas, pure canvas. So 5, 7, meaning we have a line of 5 pixels and then 7 pixels in space. But if I save this right now, oh, no, I don't want that. If I save this here, of course, nothing happens here at all because we didn't set anything yet. So what we're going to do here is then we say CTX, and then we say move to, and then we grab here our active point. So our active point is here, this part, and then we say dot element dot x. So we want to move the point. So where's our starting point? Well, let's be clear. Our starting point on the x level is very straightforward. If we hover over here, we want to make sure the line is here. Alright? So that means that the x value should be this point here, and then here, this will be the x, and here, etc., etc. So very important. So we're going to do this right now. So we indicate, alright, what is the starting point here? Because there's 2 data points here, an x and a y value as a starting point. And here we just grab basically this one here, and then later on we have here the y value. So we're going to grab this here. We put in this x value here. I'm going to put it in here. This one I'm going to work on it later on. I want to just draw the line first so you have a visual representation. Then we have here the ctx.linewidth, just to give it a nice thickness. And I will say in this case, oh, this should be equal, by the way, equal to semicolon. Next, what we have is the color of the line. So we say ctx, so the line, we want to draw it, and we give it a stroke. And the reason why I'm going to give it a stroke name is basically, remember we're in a canvas. What it means with a canvas is simply this. A canvas thinks in a point of pictures. So a stroke is a brush stroke with your paintbrush, which is a nice line. Basically it's a line, but we call it a stroke. So this one equals, and then we can say here the color red. And then what we have here is then ctx stroke to draw the line, or basically the stroke. And once we did that, we can do here ctx.restore, and this is to basically remove all the data points here afterwards, because like this, and everything needs to be reset for our next line afterwards. We're going to make another line, but we have to work with that. Alright, so we have this move tool here, and let's see if I have everything here. And then we have the line tool, and I realize that we need to have another one. So I'm going to put in here just 0 for now. And here I'm going to put another one because I'm missing one, which is the line tool. Alright, meaning here we're going to, this is our starting point, and here will be our ending point. So where are we going to draw the line, or what will be the ending point? And the ending point is exactly in pixels as well. So here we start at 0, so we should have it from top to bottom. So basically we need to have the exact height of this chart area here, which I'm going to explain later on why we need this. So here, our starting point and ending point on the X scale will be this, but on the Y scale, it will be something else. So for now, I'm going to put in 100. I'm going to save this. If I save and refresh, as you can see, it loads a little bit, alright? And you can see here now, we have our point, and we have to be very narrow here, but you can see our starting point is at the top. So why at the top, or sorry, not at the top, at the very beginning of the canvas? You can see here now the chart area becomes very important, because you can see here we have this space here. So let's move this exactly at this point here. So let's go here. If you see this here, we need to move in the chart area, and we say here chart area top for that. So you can see here in this chart area, we have here the chart area dot top. If I save this, if I refresh now, you can see the 0 we set up here on 0. This needs to be changed to top. And if I click on the console log, you can see here the top is 32 pixels. So if I put in a hard code of 32 pixels, it will start at this line here. Refresh, alright, and then you can see here, it always starts at the right position. It starts also on the X. You can see the X position is correct. The Y position, at least the beginning point, is correct as well, 32. So we have this 32, but I don't want to hard code it, so I'm going to grab this, put it in here, save that, refresh, and there we are. So now we have this, but of course what we want to have next is what we call the line from here all to the bottom here, or at least to this point. So how do we do this? Well, we need to figure out here where is the ending point here. And the ending point is eventually the active point, what we have here. This is why we have this shortcut here. We can say here active point element, and then we get the element of Y. So let's, if I put in here the console log, save that. Oh, sorry, make it first Y, save that. Then you'll see here the pixel amount. As you can see here, the pixel amount is 292. And if I go here, the pixel amount is 278. So it calculates automatically. So if this is green, is 250 or 249. I'm going to copy this and just hard code it in here. If I save this, and now every time I go in here, you can see it moves always here. And this one is exactly match. So we can get the correct value here, which is this. So we have a dynamic value here. There we are. Now we have this. We hover over it. Beautiful. That looks quite nice. Alright. It's always matching. So now we've done the first part of it. What I want to do next is I want to make sure the bottom is as well. And later on we just need to do some tiny adjustments on the visual representation of this. Then you will see it will start to look quite nice. So we have this restore here, and this restore is important to restore it, because if we don't restore this, you will see that we get a dash line afterwards, and I don't want this. I want now, for the lower part, I want to start at the lower part, make it the blue line, and have it set on a solid line. So in here, we do exactly the same with the begin path. Again here, new line, so the beginning path, and we have the restore here. And I'm going to show you later the difference without it. And in here, almost similar. Here, we don't need this set line here because we don't want a dash line. We just want a solid line, which is by default set. So as you can see, if I remove this, refresh, our line is solid. So as you can see, this is now by default, alright. And then all we need is basically this point here, and we can even get this part here almost. We can copy all of this, and probably even this part here as well. We have the stroke, we have everything nicely in here, alright. But the only thing what I want to change here is blue. So if I save this now, make blue, and if I hover over it, as you can see here, this is just blue. But right now it's overruling, or basically on top of the red line. Very important here. We don't want this. So what we're going to do now is we're going to change that. And I guess we should maybe make this gray. And I want this blue to be eventually the color that we have here. Exactly the same color of this one. That will be far more appealing. So alright, we have this here, but now we need to move this down. So now is the question, where is the starting point for the X scale? So as you figured out, the X scale will not move because we want this line from top to bottom. So the bottom part should maintain. And same with here. It should maintain here as well. So the only thing what we want to do is to figure out where's our starting point. Right now we have the starting point at the top. But now we want the starting point here. So what is the starting point here? Basically this value here, the active point element. Just going to put it in here. And this one here, I'm going to give it another value as well. I guess the best way to do this one here is just to give this the bottom value of the chart area. So I'm going to copy this here, put it at the bottom, or maybe even better, it's just 700 pixels. Sorry, 350 pixels. Why 350? The height is 350, so you will see this here as well. If I hover over it, you can see now the line is gray, up is gray, and the bottom is the same color as this here, which is correct. And then you can see it still overlaps here. We don't want this overlapping. How do we solve this overlapping here? Because the starting point is correct. Well, for the overlapping, all we need to do is we need to know where is the ending point. And basically the ending point would be the chart area bottom. And if I get here the console log, and I say here bottom, save that, refresh, here you can see the bottom value is 3 to 1.6, alright. Save this, refresh, and there we are. So now we have this bottom here, beautiful. Alright, so what I'm going to grab is here, we just grab this one, then we have the default value here, which is dynamic. Save this here. Now we have this here, and beautiful, this works nicely. Alright, so what I want to show you, because we're almost done here, I want to make it a little bit more nicer. I want to put in the tooltip here on the very top. And if you look very carefully, I'm not sure if you're able to see, but you might see here at the bottom, it is not really 100% pure pink. It is slightly grayish, and the reason why this happens is basically the background here. This line is overruling, or the grid line overrules the pink line down here. And the reason why this happens is because we are using before draw. So I'm going to show you these as well, because this is a very important part as well to understand. First of all, let's do some nice design on our tooltip. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to say here the point hover border, I want to increase the size of it so it's easier to pinpoint them and better to spot these colors and everything. I'm going to give this white color, comma, and then what I want to do is I want to say the point hover background color will be a solid color, and this solid color will be this one here, the solid one. So that's easier to spot. Next, what I want to do is I want to make sure that the point border width, which is basically the item here, increases in size. And the width of the border line should be also bigger, because right now the borderline width of this radius is just only 1 pixel. So let's make this the point border width solid with 3 pixels, comma. Next, what I want to do here is the point border, the point hover border. The point hover border width should also be identical, 3 pixels. So if I save this right now and refresh, you will see now it's slightly more clear. You can see it becomes a blank item, which is nice, but we're not done yet. So we're going to work on this more. So what we want to do here is, then we can say here the point radius. So we are more easier when we hover over the point radius, it's more bigger. Then we say here also the point hover radius equals 10 as well. So if I save this now, refresh, you can see nicely. All right, there we are. And this looks far more nicer and it's easier to spot, as you can see here the difference. And if you have the line here, you can see here the white line overrules or is on top of the layer of this background line here as well. Makes it nicer and easier to spot. Alright, so if you're not satisfied with the border color here or with the background color here, we could make this even 1. Save that here. There we are. That looks beautiful. Alright, so now we have this here. What I want to do here, just tiny item here is on the tooltip. Let's go here in the options. Then we have a plugins, and then we say tooltips, tooltip. Then here, Y align. Then we say here at the bottom. And the reason I'm doing this is basically we want to make sure the tooltip here, the caret, because right now it's always to the left. I want to make a point here, and you will see after why this becomes important. I want to put it here at the top, so that the cloud is on top and the caret is pointing down. So we have this here, make sure there's a comma, save this, and refresh. So now you can see here, the cloud is always at the top and the caret here, or the triangle points down. So if I would change this here, because I want to make this point very clear. If I say here now, after, you will see a difference. Save this. Refresh. You can see now the line, the tooltip line or the annotation line we created is on top because it draws after the chart has been cleared. And also the grid lines here, everything is becoming up. So basically this line here, this tooltip line, and the tooltip will be shown afterwards. The tooltip will be first drawn, and then this annotation line that we have will be on top of it. Because it's basically a layer. What is drawn on top of each other? This is the reason here why this is drawn afterwards this. Because if I would do this first, and even if I would first, let me just show you the restore. If I'm going to hide the restore here, refresh, you will see that first of all the red line is not anymore a solid line because it grabs or remembers any data here. So it remembers any of these data here above. That's why we have the restore. We will set it back to default value. And we have to do this here as well because or else anything else on the chart will be grabbing these settings here. Very important to remember. Alright, so now I want to go here back. If I move this, put this down, save that, and refresh, you can see here now, it restores, but what happens really, the line is being overruled by the other line. So this is very important here as well. It overrules it, and for some reason, did I have a restore here? Yes. But even in that case, for some reason, it even grabs here all of these. So that should not be. There should be a restore here as well, but probably because of the after here. If I do this one before, save that. It should not work. Alright, there you are. You can see, or somehow it does. However, it doesn't matter so much for now. Most important part here is to make sure that you have this restore here. Or this should be probably a reset. There might be as well. I will have to double check on that one. Most important part here, or if I have this reset. Alright. Oh, no, definitely not a reset, sorry. Make sure it's a restore. However, as you can see here, this is the right way to do it. The line here shows and resets everything. Doesn't overrules each other. So this is for now, and I'll be going deeper in this because this part is still quite complicated. And you can see here the after and before have a clear meaning. When will you draw this? So if you have any questions regarding to this, or you want to know more different parts about it, put them in the comment section below. I'll be diving deeper in this because this part will be interesting because you can start to draw a real customized chart with it. Thank you for watching this video, and I hope you enjoy it. And if you enjoy this video, you probably will enjoy this one as well. And if you're interested in chart.js, check out in the description box the link directing to my chart.js course where you can learn everything about chart.js. And finally, of course, make sure you subscribe to my channel.